Hey, what's up, everybody? Our fellow readers out there. Today we're gonna continue. This will be part two of the X Factor read along. Now we're gonna start on X Factor issue one. This is where we left off. You saw the return of Jean Grey, and we're starting to see the formation of a new team called the X Factor, which is very properly titled X Factor because that's what they are. It's like all of a sudden we got the original cast members of the X-Men. They're now back. So now what are we gonna do with two teams? I guess we figured we couldn't call them both X-Men, so one was called X Factor. And let's take it from there and see what's going on. Here's issue one. This is in February of 1985 when we brought the OG X-Men back. This issue is called Baptism of Fire. Chancellor Jackson, which writer Bob Layton. Okay, so all the X-Men had been retired, so here we're gonna see how they bring everybody back. Jean Grey had died, Professor X had died, everybody was retired, and Beast was an Avenger. So here we see Cyclops and his new wife, Madeline Pryor. He's chopping wood, living out there in the farm, and he has a kid now, so he's living that family life, as we can see here on the picture. Living the family life, like the Expendables. All of a sudden, somebody makes a call and they were gathering up the old gang. Here, let's see what she's saying. She says, Scott, do we really need any more wood? Anyway, you're always out in the back splitting wood, hour after hour. I don't understand you. Even when you're here, you're not here. The baby is wet, Scott. Would you grab me a diaper, please? Scott says, no problem. So he does chops wood out there. It's like relaxing and to think and so forth. As they're having this going on. You see on the news report is talking about something. Let's see what he's saying here. He says, meanwhile, in other news, the Senate Committee on the Mutant Affairs is still considering legislation concerning recent increases in Homo superior or mutant activity. In X-Men Comics, Homo superior is mutants. The mutant registration bill could possibly be on the president's desk by early spring. So, they're hearing about this. What's Scott thinking? Says, what? They can't do that. It's getting worse every day. And then now Madeline says, now you just quit your squirming. She's talking to the kid here. She's changing his diaper. And then on the right panel, she says, Scott, I asked for a little help. It's your fellow mutants again, isn't it? Haven't you done enough for them already? Then about time they did something for themselves. And Scott says, it's not that simple, Maddie. She wants him to stop worrying about his friends and about his righteous causes and, concentrate on the family and on her and the kid, basically. They're both being selfish. She wants what she wants and he wants what he wants. So they're having a little scuffle here. She says, the X-Men don't need you and your old girlfriend Jean is dead. I'm the one that needs you now. So Madeline, the weird thing about her, she was here to replace Jean Grey and be his new girlfriend. They gave her the same red hair, same exact look. So it almost felt like Jean Grey was never gone. It felt like she just lost her superpowers, basically. So here you see Scott in the middle of the night outside. She says, Scott, it's awfully chilly out here. Come back in. He says, I'll be in a while, Maddie. Please go on back and get some sleep. He's thinking about what he heard on the news and maybe gathering back the old gang. He says, Scott, I'm sorry for snapping at you earlier. It's just that on Friday night, I don't want to lose whatever we have here. He says, I understand that. I'm just not exactly sure what we do have anymore. So I guess he's not really ready for that family life. He wants to be back on the field. She says, Scott, I've tried to overlook a lot of things. Tried understanding when you weren't here for the baby's birth. I know I should have been here. It's like an old athlete. He's always there for the team before his family life. He's there for his career. And he's retired and he's still thinking about going back on the field. Like that pumps him up. He's more excited over that than a boring family life. And this is the conflict here because she's looking for the opposite. She says, I've even tried to deal with the fact that I resemble your dead lover. It's Jean, isn't it? You're thinking about her right now, aren't you? And he says, yes. Wrong answer, bro. You can see mad on his face here. It's all bad. It's all bad. He should have just did quite not said anything. There are the old X-Men chilling it with this angel. It's Warren. It's his name. She's all rich. She's flying around, chilling, and the rest of the X-Men are helping them move out some stuff. Here's Beast and plus I think there's Iceman and Beast. So let's see what they're up to. Yeah, Beast has a creative way of carrying down the luggage. Here's this girl. She says, "Hey guys, all packed up already?" I guess this is Warren's girlfriend. He says, "Alas, fair Miss Southern, our chariot awaits to whisk us away to our new lives amongst the civilian population." Oh, look at Iceman. He slide down. It is typical relationship with Iceman and Beast, kind of like Thing and Human Torch, where one's a lot more mature and stuff, and the other guy's still young and goofing around all the time. So then they're at the swimming pool here. Oh, here's the young lady's name. It's Candy. So Hank says, "Hey, Candy, we're hoping that Warner will be present to see us off." And he appears out of nowhere, says, "Hang on, sweet cheeks, and your lover will take you for the ride of your life." And then she says, "Oh, Warren, you silly boy." So it's usually in the first issues, you have everybody interacting, hanging out, lot of downtime, and everybody makes sure to call everybody by their name so you can know every character's name and familiarize yourself with them. Why all this is happening, the regular humans seem to have some type of accident here. They're talking about they're kind of being bigots. One of them is saying, "Yeah, yeah, sure, the pay is good, but still don't like working for the mutants." I wonder what kind of mutant powers they have, the other worker says. So, clearly they don't like mutants. And as they're talking about this, they have an accident. One of the ropes slips on their little thing here as they're cleaning the windows and whatnot. And woo, it's an accident waiting to happen. Luckily, the X Men are used to jumping into action right on the drop of a hat. You know that their reflexes are good. So bam, Warren quickly flies out, catches one of them from falling off the cliff. Beast jumps up to help the other one, and Iceman too. As you see them right here, he is Hank, that guide rope. It's not that it wasn't tied loosely, so Beast was gonna grab him from the rope, and that's another accident waiting to happen. As obviously he slips here, and everything goes to shit. Everybody falls, but at least now they fall in the swimming pool, which that was a close one, little accident there. Even after they save these mutants, these guys are still kind of, they should be a little more thankful, basically, that they're saved by mutants. Here, Hank says, "I suppose fate decided to punctuate your point, Warren. Without a Scott Summers or a Professor Xavier around, we're not much to write home about because they still screwed up and fell in the pool." So they're saying, had this been like, had they been fighting a villain or something, they need some type of guidance, like a leader. and Scott's retired. Also, they're rusty. They haven't been out fighting crime in a while. They've been, as you can see here, they've been chilling, living the good life, trying to blend in with the rest of society, basically. Okay, here Mandy says, "Do you want to go back to the pony?" And he says, "And cause another accident by letting those guys check out your fabulous frame again? No thanks." And he says, "Hey, look at this. An old picture of all of us when we were pledging X-Men." And it's pretty cool. He has a picture, back in the days. It's like someone in a picture back in their high school or college days. So he's reminiscing about this. Now she says, "Warren, it's Reed Richards, Mr. Fantastic." Warren says, "Oh, you worry too much. He and his group probably just wrecked some of my Manhattan property again." And this call is gonna be a little more interesting because, as we all know, Jean Grey just came back. So he leaves in a hurry. Now where we at? Here says back in San Diego Naval Yard, the medical frigate USS Essex docks. And now you see some guy saying, "Come on, you swab. Shore leave's begun at the clock's running." See the guys getting off the huge ship right here. One young guy says, "What's the matter, Chief? Don't you ever take in the view?" And the chief says, "Just kidding, sailor. At ease." So the chief says, after he says that, he says, "Well, say let's get out of here and have some fun. I want to be knee deep in misdemeanors by midnight." The younger sailor says, "Sure, chief." He takes him out to a bar, says triple X bar. So he's introduced them to this old hooker right here. "I want you to meet an old friend of mine, Emma Laporte." He introduces the young guy to this old hooker so he could have like a night on the town. So here she is telling him, "Don't worry, you'll have a fun time." She takes him, look at her. She looks like she drinks and smokes a lot of cigarettes by looking at her. She takes the young sailor. He says, "I'm not sure about this, miss. I don't know what's going on." And the chief says, "Go ahead, kid." And that's in order. And she says, "You heard him, sailor. You can't disobey a direct order from your superior." She takes him out to the alley here, and bam, he starts burning up. He's a younger guy, so he's not aware that he's a mutant. And this is the first time his mutant abilities act up. This is a trope in X-Men comics. Whenever a guy gets his mutant abilities for the first time, it's like hitting puberty. They don't know what's going on, and a lot of times they happen at the most opportune, at the worst times, basically. So here, the accident waiting to happen, he burns up, he turns into fire, and in this happening, he also burns up the lady. So this is terrible. You see this picture here. You see his face. It's like of agony. He runs out of the alley, and bam, everything's crazy. Now people are yelling, "Help! Fire! Help!" Now we're back at New York. That was in San Diego. Now we're back to New York. You see Angel just showing up at the airport, wings flapping out and everything. And then somebody says, "Hey, it's one of them muties." Just flying through everybody. So it's a big news to him. I mean, this is a friend of his got dead for years, and he just heard she's alive. So he's eager to come here and see what the hell's going on. It says, "Look out," or so and so. People think it's some type of promotional stunt for the airwaves. Mr. Fantastic says, "I can explain everything to you here, especially after the scene you just made. Everyone's looking at you. Get out of here." So he leaves and he's going to explain this to him somewhere else. Now, here, Angel says, "Can't believe it, Reed. How could she have survived? It's mind boggling. Jean Grey is alive." And Mr. Fantastic says, I surmise that you might be just what she needs right now to help her adjust, to help her adjust. Well, she's been gone a long time. Things have changed in the world. And, he's giving him the rundown. They're talking, bracing him, for what's to come. And now we're back in San Diego. They got this mutant, this young guy that turned into fire and burned a woman alive. They're saying, "You mutant scum. Hope they hang you." Another guy says, "Come on, son, into transportation." And the kid's scared. He doesn't know what's going on. He just knows he just found out he's a mutant. His chief here is pissed off because he killed a good friend of his, even though she was a hooker or whatever. Obviously they went back. She seemed to be about his age, about the chief's age. Now we're back at New York. Here's Angel getting ready to brace herself to bump to meet Jean Grey again. You see the clock here, like what they did with Art again. You see the clock says 4:02. You see him waiting, and it's nighttime. It's 4 in the morning. Then you see the clock again. It's 9 in the morning. Now it's daytime, and you see the window. Just to give you a good idea how much time has passed, how long he's been waiting there, just stressing and excited and nervous and all kinds of emotions going down. And you see how long he's soaking all that in. Like, it's been 5 hours. And they did a good job here with it really needed no writing, just, the art told the story by itself. Here we're back to Cyclops in Alaska. It's another good thing about the X-Men. They're always constantly in different states, different countries. They're not just always in New York like the Avengers or the Fantastic Four. I mean, obviously the Fantastic Four go to space a lot too, but but that's another story. We're talking about just on planet Earth. Now here, Cyclops is back with his wife. She says, "Hey, would you get that, Scott? The phone is ringing." He answers the phone and it's his good old buddy Warren. He says, "But how? How can that be? It's impossible." Obviously, he got the news about Jean Grey. He says, "Warren needs me to meet him in New York today." And she says, "Well, tell him you can't make it. You got a family and a kid. Can't do that, Maddie." Scott Summers. "If you walk out that door, don't bother coming back," she says. Look at her face. That doesn't look like a confident face. Like he's making that face like he knows he's gonna make the wrong choice. He says, "I'm sorry, Maddie. I gotta go. The gang needs me." Okay, so we've been seeing a lot of downtime. You've seen what everybody was up to as they were retired, and you slowly seen the group get back together, the posse, if you will. And here they are. And here's the lady of the hour. Here they both are. And bam, Jean. She says, "Scott." Dun, dun, dun. And obviously she's all dressed up, looking as gorgeous as ever. So look at her here. He says, "Oh my God, it's Jean, his high school sweetheart." So Scott Summers is married at this time. She's excited to see him. She doesn't know he's married. She thinks we're gonna just start where we left off. We're still together. We're happy to see you and whatnot. She doesn't realize a lot of years have passed. People evolve. Take him for example. He's married with children. She doesn't bother to ask, and he doesn't bother to explain. He says, "It really is you. I can't believe it. Doesn't seem possible." And she says, "Of course it's me, handsome. Uh, who else loves you this much like me, huh?" And he's breaking down because it's someone he grew up his whole life with, but at the same time he already has a wife and he can't get well things used to be. So it's a lot of emotions, roller coaster ride going on his part. And then she says, "Now that we're back together, You think we'll be just like we used to be? And Scott says, Gene, I have something to tell you. He's about to tell her about, what's been going on in his life. And now Angel shows up. He says, I'm not interrupting anything. She says, I hope I'm not interrupting anything. And he says, yes, wonderful. It's Angel. So it stops him from, telling her what's been going on. And as anything, the longer you keep it secret, the harder it's gonna be for him to tell him he has a wife. To tell her he has a wife. He says, curious about how Jean survived. I mean, I thought she died. He's asking, so now, hey, we get the whole rundown of the whole thing. Here's the old issues telling the story. We already read in part one of this read along. So you already know what happened. She's just repeating the same stuff to Cyclops now. He's telling us the story of the old X-Men issues when the spaceship crashed and how she came to be trapped on the. See, she's retelling the story. How the Dark Phoenix showed up, took over her identity, and molded her appearance to look like her. And then the Dark Phoenix has who really got killed off. And she explained how the Avengers found her, that she was trapped this whole time in some type of pod or cocoon, if you will. So again, this stuff we've already seen on part one of this read along. Have to be repeated every time a new member shows up, so that other members know what's going on. They all have to hear the same story, so it's gonna get a little repetitive. We're gonna see a lot of the same story every time a new character shows up. Now there's a little twist here. She's back, and she still has her telekinesis power. She could lift sofas and televisions, cars, whatever, with her mind. But she now no longer is able to read minds like she used to, like Professor Xavier. But she got more stronger with her telekinesis, but she lost the power of reading minds. This had to be done. The writers had to do this for obvious reasons. Cyclops has a relationship, he has a wife, and so you could see the relationship how it is. It telling a story of how he met his old high school sweetheart, and maybe he wants to be back with her. Does he leave his current wife, his kids? But we can't tell this story if she could read minds, because then she would just know what he's thinking. So here we make it more interesting. But she's showing off her power lifting this sofas. She says, I'm not going to stand around twiddling my thumbs while our kind is totally wiped from the face of the earth. Because she's hearing the stuff that's going on in the news, and they're telling her, no, we've been long retired, Jean. Like none of us are in the battlefield anymore. We all have civilian lives. And she didn't like that. So she says, we can't just stand around. They're still young in the prime of their lives. At least till they mold new X-Men, new younger mutants to take their place. Just like any team, in sports, before the guys retire, you gotta make sure you got your new class coming in, so the team don't, or the cards or whatever, don't fall to shit. Here's Cyclops. He says everything's so confusing. It makes no sense. He's telling Angel, and Angel says, "What with you? Grab a hold, and we'll go after her." He says, "I can't. Not so much. Not right now. Everything's all screwed up." He was living a happy life with his wife, and now all this other stuff came into play. So Angel says, well, the place is with you then. And he goes after Jean. Jean's flying around. Somebody says, beautiful landing, kid. Couldn't have done it better myself. And it's Angel. Here's Beast going for a job interview to be a professor at a college. And he gets stressed out because they don't give him the job. And he says, tell me the truth. Is it because I'm a mutant? Here, the counselor says, yes, we rejected your application because you're a mutant. And he gets pissed off. He's like, this is the 15th interview. I'm just as qualified as the most of these people. And he says, yes, Hank, but your appearance, it scares people off. Parents don't want their children being taught by someone that looks like you. They feel what they don't understand. So this guy's being reasonable. He's letting them know we want to hire you, but the baggage and the issues that are gonna come with it, it's too much. We can't deal with it. It's bad for the school. We gotta think about the students. They're the most important thing. And Beast is usually very level-headed. He understands this, but he's just frustrated. He's just frustrated trying to get to a civilian life, and it's hard to do so when ain't nobody hiring. You know what I'm saying? So he's getting stressed out over this. He goes crazy, takes off his shirt, jumps out the window, feeding into the stereotype that mutants are aggressive and they go haywire the minute things don't go their way, feeding into the hysteria basically. Someone sees them here, they say, well, as a matter of fact, there is payment involved. Warren didn't send me to pick you up. And B says, Warren just left that place, right? So they tell him the news that they tell him the news. They're back at this building here. Where is this? That 6 hours later on Manhattan's Lower East Side, a slick property, a slick prototype helicopter makes its descent onto a choice piece of waterfront property. To be bewildered, passengers are discharged and cautiously entered. The immense structure is looming before them. See the helicopter here landing? Nice area, very bushy, top notch. Now it says here, holy crap, Beast is tripping out on the huge place. Warren, what is this all about? Did you call us here just to show off another one of your recent real estate acquisitions? He thinks it's just to brag about the huge place he bought. He says, no, I bought this. This is going to be our corporation. We're getting the gang back together. B says, then what's the scoop? Why all of this secret summoning? Oh, and here's where he explains to them that they're getting the gang back together and says, all five of us. B says, like, what do you mean all five of us? Bam! Jean Grey. B says, like, Jean? He's obviously is thrilled to see her. Everybody's excited. It's like all the old college homies back together and, having a class reunion type of vibe going on right now. Catching up on old times. They're explaining everything to them again, how she got back and how she never died and whatnot. He says, never mind that, Bobby. If Scott's seen Jean talk with her, we get the picture. Warren, don't you worry. We'll find them. A nice drawing of Beast. I like the way this artist draws him, this penciler, as opposed to the way Jim Lee draws him, because Jim Lee drew Beast to look very much like Wolverine. And here he has his own identity, his own look. Now, back at Jamaica Bay, here is Cyclops. He's just looking at the river or whatever, the bay. He's all stressed out, tripping out. He remembers this was the last place he saw Jean. Beast shows up with Iceman, and Scott says, just leave me alone, McCoy. He feels like his whole life has been turned upside down. And now he doesn't know what to do. He wants to pretend he doesn't have a wife and return with Jean, but at the same time, it's a big thing to do. So he doesn't know what to do. So you see here, Cyclops is always stressed out because he takes himself too serious and life too serious, and he puts a lot of pressure on himself. So he goes through these situations a lot. He went through this when Jean died, when Professor X died, and now he's going through this again when Jean's back. He goes through this every time they film Mission too. As the leader of the team, he carries all the weight on his shoulder. Every loss, he takes it as a personal loss. He says, what about my wife? How can I even face her after I just seen my old girlfriend, right? And then he's saying, what about how do I explain how I feel to her? How can I even tell her any of this? Are you still in love with Jean? Says Beast. They're having a heart to heart right here. Scott, I can't pretend to know what you're feeling, but there is something I do know. You can't run away from problems. That hasn't changed. So now they bring him back, they reel him back in, and now Angel's telling him right here about his great plan. He goes, "We're gonna get the group back together." So well, all right. So another X-Men book. So there's a twist though. There's a twist on this one. The twist is this team is gonna pose as it's gonna be a corporation. They're like Ghostbusters. Like they're gonna pose as a Ghostbuster team, but instead of catching ghosts, we catch mutants. So basically, people call us when they spot a mutant doing criminal activity or mutant activity, and we show up pretending we're there to arrest them, but we kind of talk to them and guide them through. We bring them back with us and train them to be new X-Men. We're really saving all these mutants from humanity or from racist cops or whatever that don't like mutants. He's explaining this idea to Cyclops, and they're all thinking about it. They're all thinking about it, and then they're not sure how they feel. So we're gonna pretend to be going after mutants. And then B says, "This sounds a lot like what Professor X used to tell us." This guy is called Cameron Hodge. He's kind of their new Professor X, if you will, but instead of being a mutant, he runs things like a corporation because that's what they're gonna be as a corporation. So you have a little twist just to make it slightly different and separated from the other X-Men book. Now here towards the end it says X Factor, mutant investigations and resolutions. No need to be fearful any longer. Our skilled team of experts will aid you in finding the answers to one of the urgent problems of our time. Call our toll-free number. La-di-da, la-di-da. He tells them he's pitching the whole idea to them. They even got a commercial made already. And B says, well, he's telling them we'll think about that commercial. We'll think about this idea. And Cameron High says, well, actually, they have already been airing for several days now. This commercial has already been airing, so they're already going on with this plan without consulting the rest of the team. And he says, it's because I hate to waste any time. Now you see Beast's reaction here. He's not really in favor of this idea. Now back to this young kid that accidentally burned a lady with his powers. It's kind of like a metaphor for a kid with a loaded gun. Doesn't know what to do and he accidentally kills somebody. So should he be punished? It was an accident, yes, yes, but at the end of the day, he still did it. Here comes the old chief just to see him one last time. He says, what does he say? Right here, he says, the way I got it, figure they don't care what shape you're in when they test your mutie. Chief, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. The chief says, shut up, freak. I decided that they can do an autopsy on you as easy as anything else. So I came to see what I could do about helping them out, Rusty. And the guards show up. They say, save your breath. You ain't got too many left as it is. And he takes out his gun. Ooh. He's looking for a way out, and this chief wants to kill him while he's in jail. But is when he gets agitated, his mutant abilities act up. So he turns into fire again. Says, get away, chief. I don't want to hurt you. And as you can see here on the panel, same thing happens again. He burns down the jail. He runs away to let's run away from the chief to not have to burn the chief alive how he did the old lady. Okay, helicopters are after him. Now the helicopter's burning up on fire. Damn, look at the disaster he's causing here. So obviously he's a danger, not only to himself, but to others. Just leave me alone, everybody stay back. I can't control this power, which is all the reason why they fear you and they want to arrest you. So this is interesting. It brings up interesting points because you say he's an innocent victim. He doesn't know what's going on. Whether he doesn't know or whatever, or he does know, the point is he's still dangerous. So you got to look at it from the human's point of view. Yeah, it may be an accident, but you still can kill us, you still can hurt us, so we still have to worry about all that. So here comes the chief. He has his hand burned from the fire of this kid Rusty, and he sees this commercial on TV saying X Factors. If you need help, you have a mutant problem. So he calls them. You see him looking at the phone directly. That panel is also one of those panels really didn't need any dialogue. You just see him turn around and look at the phone, and we could kind of get the gist. That's one thing about these older stories. Sometimes they don't let the art can tell you the story sometimes, and they still put it in the dialogue. So they give you a lot of extra stuff to read that you really don't need to read. You could skip through. Is here are their new uniforms. Here are their new uniforms of X Factor. So everybody's trying out their new uniforms, and Cyclops says this whole thing is ridiculous, Jean. It's not gonna work. She says, Scott, you have to believe it will. The group is depending on you. That only makes things worse. Scott says. Now she says, look, if not for anything else, do it because I want you to be with me. Okay? And he says, that's the only reason I'm still here, Gene, is because I want to be around you. And then he's thinking to himself, I'll have to be around at least long enough to tell you about my new wife, Madeline. Ooh, very soap opera. Would you take a look at that? He's gonna leave his new lover for his old lover. Okay, boys and girls and mutants of all ages, welcome to X Factor's home, away from home. Understated as usual, Warren. I wish we didn't have to leave Hank and Warren behind. Warren has wings, and Beast looks human. I mean, he looks like a beast. He doesn't look human. So they have to leave them two behind because then they can't pose as regular humans looking to catch mutants if they're rolling with two people that look like mutants. So they had to find a way for Beast to look human so he could join the group. And they have to find a way for Angel to look human, which it will be a little easier. He just has to hide his wings. So here's the X Factor team talking to this chief. He's giving them the rundown, telling them about this mutant that killed his hooker homegirl and burned his hand and how he's a menace. So he says outside of town, about 10 miles into the hill area, word is he's still on the loose down out there. Now, Iceman says, don't worry, we'll get him. That's what you hired X Factor for. Here he is running away. There's Rusty. You gotta remember, Rusty's also young. He's a teenager, I believe, still, or he might be in his early 20s. And he has, you're young and you have all these obviously he's hysterical, doesn't know how to go about all this. He has all the military after him and the government, because again, he's a mutant. He runs into the mountains here. And now he's using his power to defend himself because it's a matter of survival. He sees somebody shot that Jeep down and it wasn't him. And it's the X Factor team. Now, when they're in their human form, they're called X Factor. But when they're back to their X-Men uniforms, they're going by the name Exterminators. They're not X-Men, they're Exterminators. The military says, "Oh, great, more mutants here to rescue their own." So they're trying to control the situation. They want to stop the military, but without hurting anybody. So the military left. They saw they were outgunned. They're walking into the mountain here. You see into this cave where the Dean is hiding. And here he is, obviously hysterical. He shoots fire at him, saying, "Stay away." And they're trying to calm him down. They're like, "Look," Cyclops says, "Son, look, you don't understand. We're here to help you. There's no more. You're taking me back. Before that happens, I'll burn you all." So they get into a fight with without really wanting to. They're trying to contain the situation. And here they capture him now. And Cyclops says, "Sorry, Rusty, but you're coming with us for your own good." Of course, of course. Now they say, Angel says, "Psych, the case collapsing." You see here, the kid's powers is bringing all the rocks down on them. Now, Jean Grey's telekinesis forms a shield around them, stops the rocks from destroying them or crushing them, but they're still trapped in a cave. The Cyclops laser beam get them out of that situation pretty easy. Boom! You see this badass right here shoots right shoots right through the cave. They tell the chief, "Yeah, we captured this guy." Da da. They put him in a sack right here, kind of like a body bag almost. They show him to the chief, and he says, "Don't worry, we'll take care of him. We're taking him." She says, "That's fine." And then Cyclops says, "Yeah, so everything's done, but there's still one more matter to take care of: the bill." The bill is not cheap. The chief is pissed at you can see the look on his face. It's like, what? But I mean, this was a big job they did. They're capturing an outlaw, fugitive. They get the kid, they bring him back, and this is their first mission, so you could get an idea of what they're doing. They capture the kid, they tell him, "We're here to help you." And, hopefully, as he learns to control his powers and so forth, maybe he becomes a new member of the X-Men. Meanwhile, as they're explaining this to him, you see Madeline at home, sitting down. Poor wife, her husband hasn't been home for days. He cares more about his career than her. So she's deciding from the look of it, she says, "Bring me the head of Hank McCoy." That's the next issue. From the looks of it, it looks like she's had enough and like she's losing faith in the relationship. All right, let's go. What's the next issue? Oh, next issue, issue 2. A desperate battle of life and death. X Factor versus the Mutant Menace Tower. Bill Bob Layden on writing and Jackson Guiche and Joel Rubenstein on inking. Look at this. You see Jean Grey's face and you see the plane. Okay. This actually looks pretty cool. Because this is a good place to finish it. We'll start it off tomorrow at 6 o'clock p.m. West Coast time. It's been fun. Hopefully, y'all check it out. And stay tuned for tomorrow for the next issue. We're on issue 2 now. Okay, if you like what you saw, also hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and it'd be good if you hit that bell as well. That way, I'll notify you tomorrow when we go live again for the next issue. We'll keep doing this all week till we finish all 9 issues. So yeah, that's all I gotta say for today. Leave any questions or comments in the comment section, and I'll answer them, and I'll get back to them. Maybe I'll even answer them on the live stream tomorrow. All right, then, people. I'll see you guys next time.